Have you ever visited Landscape of Nations? The beautiful memorial dedicated to the treaties between the Haudenosaunee people and European settlers is a way to bring about a new era of peace and end the War of 1812. If you're looking to visit the beautiful site, simply head to Queenston Heights Park and enter free of charge. You'll notice a gorgeous landscape and many historical landmarks. There aren't any signs to the entrance of the landscape itself, but once you arrive, continue up the path until you reach the longhouse structure and Tree of Peace. Then you will be able to appreciate the peace and beauty of the grounds. Who are the Haudenosaunee people exactly? The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, meaning people of the Longhouse, is made up of the Mohawks, Oneidas, Onondagas, Cayugas, and Senecas, and it was intended to unite the nations and create a peaceful means of decision-making. For the Haudenosaunee, law, society, and nature are equal partners, and each plays an important role. As part of the 2023 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the United Nations shared a blueprint for peace and prosperity for people on the planet now and into the future. Within this framework, there were 17 Sustainable Development Goals, of which 3 align with aspects of the Landscape of Nations: quality education, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. The goal of quality education ensures inclusive and equitable quality education and promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. Quality education is an important aspect of the Landscape of Nations. Quality education, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. The goal of quality education ensures inclusive and equitable quality education and promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. Quality education is an important aspect of the Landscape of Nations. Captain John Brant, who is memorialized in the park, was an Indigenous chief who devoted his life to improving the welfare of his people. Captain John Brant worked hard to create schools in the Grand River community. Another big component of quality education is the Landscape of Nations 360, which is a nonprofit organization that creates, designs, and implements educational and expressive arts programs that convey the meaning, depth, substance, and contributions of Indigenous people to Canadian history and society. The goal of peace, justice, and strong institutions promotes peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provides access to justice for all, and builds effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. The Landscape of Nations has various features that highlight and inspire peace. The goal of Partnerships for the Goals is about strengthening the means of implementing and revitalizing the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development.
Let's begin our journey with the turtle, which is known as turtle granite stone mosaic. To Indigenous peoples, the turtle is a symbol of the earth, the land, and the physical creation of North America with Six Nations culture. According to their creation story, the back of a giant turtle was where Mother Earth was created. Now, if we look ahead, we see 2 beautiful sculptures of Indigenous leaders from the War of 1812, John Norton and John Brant. The statues are made of bronze and firmly placed on stones, serving as sentries at the entrance leading to the Longhouse, which will be explored very soon. John Norton, recognized for his leadership capabilities and was appointed to be diplomat and war chief for Mohawk in 1799. He allied with Great Britain in the War of 1812 and led the Six Nations contingent into battle during American invasions. With the help of Native allies in repulsing the Americans, they secured an early victory. John Brant led Native forces at the Battle of Queenston Heights. Throughout the 1812 war, he was a lieutenant in the Indian Department. He later became the Legislative Assembly of Upper Canada for Haldimand in 1830. Next, we have the Longhouse, symbol of the member nations living under one great law of peace. The steel structure is made, so you enter the site by going through the Longhouse. You're walking on a 2-row wampum belt, the first treaty between the Haudenosaunee and Europeans, representing their agreement to coexist on parallel paths. Wampum are tubular, white or purple beads made from wahawk shell that were mainly found on the eastern shore of North America. These beads were woven into belts that signified as an agreement or alliance between 2 or more parties, indigenous or non-indigenous. In 1722, the Tuscarora Nation joined the Confederacy, becoming the Sixth Nation. They said the Longhouse itself represents its unity, 6 nations coming together as one large family, living under one law, speaking with one voice, and thinking with one mind. Going through the Longhouse comes the Memory Circle. In the middle, there is a circle that demonstrates the remembrance of the warriors who fought for peace in Queenston Heights. Surrounding the circle is a stone stele that showcases the medallions of different nations that are honored. Mohawk, people of the Great Flint, Oneida, people of Standing Stone, Onondaga, people of the hills. Cayuga, people of the great swamp. Seneca, people of the great hill. Tuscarora, hemp gatherers. The Tree of Peace makes up part of the landscape, and it is an eastern white pine tree that stands as a symbol of the Haudenosaunee Constitution known as the Great Law of Peace. The Tree of Peace is a metaphor for peace, as it can grow if it's nurtured. The planting of the tree took place during the ceremony of peace and reconciliation between August 31st and September 1st, 1815, that restored peace among the First Nations who fought on opposing sides during the war, with weapons buried underneath the tree. Visitors can travel to Landscape of Nations with public transportation. The WeGo Bus 603 Green Line is a great option for people who don't rely on personal commute. You will want to reach the final stop of this bus, which is 4 o'clock. Walk for 1 kilometer and you will reach the entrance of Landscape of Nations.
First Nations have had a complex, respectful, protective relationship with the land since the beginning of time. The relationship is more about stewardship than it's about ownership. The land is linked to the oral traditions, cultural practices, languages, and traditional knowledge that have been accumulated throughout the ages. Land must be a priority in any settlement. Treating the land with respect aligns with the beliefs of Haudenosaunee people, complying with their wishes and rules. Looking at regulations of Landscape of Nations from the practical perspective, it would be worth highlighting them through the website. An example of the code of conduct seen here can be edited and applied to the Landscape of Nations with specific adjustments, ensuring that every guest knows the rules and understands the policies. And now let's focus on marketing and key markets. The goal of marketing initiatives is to increase public awareness of the rich indigenous travel experiences. Between 2024 and 2034, the domestic tourism market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 4.1%. Internationally, indigenous tourism growth is projected in multiple countries. USA and Germany expect around 2% compounded annual growth rate until 2034. In Australia, the growth rate can reach 3.6%, and around 8% of annual growth in China and India.
Market trends and consumer preferences are shaped by ethical tourism initiatives, which place an emphasis on respecting indigenous cultures, customs, and land rights while encouraging responsible travel, environmental preservation, and community well-being. The expansion of the indigenous tourism business is fueled by collaboration between indigenous people and travel agencies. Through these partnerships, local expertise, resources, and talent are used to provide unique tourism experiences and goods that captivate a variety of consumers, fostering cross-cultural understanding and appreciation, as well as robust market growth. Landscape of Nations can be included into the indigenous tour guide. It is recommended to cooperate with local tour agencies to increase the attendance of the site. It is an opportunity for Landscape of Nations to be a part of Niagara or Ontario Indigenous site tours, especially during commemorative events that are being held regularly.
The Government of Canada has previously provided funding for the restoration of relevant historical sites. This fund can be used for the development of infrastructure, such as interpretive monuments. These historical sites are protected and provide educational opportunities for future generations. The government classifies Landscape of Nations as an officially recognized cultural or historical site are actively promoted in national and international cultural campaign to attract more tourists and scholars to visit and study the site. Educational institutions such as the Niagara Regional Educational Board work in partnership with community initiatives such as the Landscape of Nations 360 program and play an important role in promoting culturally appropriate and historically accurate teaching. These organizations help the public to better understand the contribution of indigenous people in history. Therefore, creating respectful learning environment for both indigenous and non-indigenous students. Partnership with teachers of Niagara region provide collaboration that can share learning experience, promote a deeper understanding of indigenous perspective, and create a stronger community.
Niagara Parks is a primary partner of Landscape of Nations geosite. Its participation in the development of the site began back in 2008 when citizens of Niagara-on-the-Lake, the Six Nations Legacy Consortium, and Niagara Parks came together to discuss the memorial to the Six Nations and Native allies. Until now, Niagara Parks keep working with Landscape of Nations to host events for students, contemporary concerts, public commemorative events, and memorial service for Indigenous veterans. Ontario Association of School Districts International is another partner for the Landscape of Nations, committed to being an active partner in the reconciliation process, which the Truth and Reconciliation Commission defines as the ongoing effort to establish and maintain respectful relationships. Seeing and appreciating the beauty and importance of the Landscape of Nations is a key component that Canadians should strive to achieve. This space represents unity, peace, community, loss, but also the prosperity of the united country, remembering those who fought to bring us where we are today. We honor the land of the Haudenosaunee people as well as their efforts to create a land of peace. Whether by yourself or with loved ones, take time to visit this beautiful site. It is important to recognize the value of historical monuments and landmarks, such as Landscape of Nations, and to see the influence of the Six Nations people on our country, our education system, and even our own lives.